Alright guys, so we're almost pretty much done. This is the last section for chapter 2, and then um, we're finished with chapter 2 and we'll move on to chapter 3 eventually, but we'll have to study for the midterm. Okay? This one right here, I only do example 1 and example 2. That's the main focus that we want to focus upon, so it should be a quick video. It's 2.8 literal equations and dimensional analysis. Homework is page 120 and 129, problems 1 through 4, and then also 8 through 15, all of them. Alright? It should be done pretty quickly. Okay? So, right now, the title, Literal Equations and Dimensional Analysis, sounds all like high-tech, right? It's like, oh dang, like, what? Like, dimensional analysis? Sounds all crazy, but it's actually not that bad, or at least not right now. We're going to more look for literal equations. So, our first two goals, or our learning targets, are solve equations for given variables and use formulas to solve real-world problems. This second part we are going to do later. We're going to more focus on the first part. I want you guys to really get this first part down. Alright? So, look at the first one. It says solve for a specific variable. What exactly does that mean? Well, what they're saying is, what if I have two variables? Notice in this equation I have an m and I have an n. So it's like, what? So, before we had one variable and only one wanted to be single. Well, now we have buddies. We got M and N, they're friends, and the one that wants to be by itself, solve for M. So M has to be by itself. It's like, yo, I need my space. I want a friend right now. I need to know what I am like on my own. Alright? So we're going to end up doing the same thing, but for the variable or for the one that wants to be by itself. So for this equation, m wants to be by itself. So who's in the way? Well, the 4 is in the way, and the 3n. It's the same exact thing as it was before, except now we have another variable. So here's what happens. Well, in order to get rid of the 3n, the opposite of minus 3n is what? Well, we add 3n. So notice that they add 3n right there. Boom. They add it. Well, once I add that cancels, but if I add 3n on one side, you add 3n onto the other side. So now I have 4m equals 8 plus 3n. Now, the only thing that's the problem is the 4 is still in the way. Now, a number in front of a variable, we have to divide. And if you notice, that's what they do right here. So the 4's cancel, and now I'm left with m equals 8 divided by 4, and 3n divided by 4. And that's why they wrote it this way. Because they're both. You could leave it like this, but the reason they wrote it this way is because what happens when I have 8 divided by 4? Well, that equals 2. And that's where this came from right here. Alright, so 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then they just leave it plus 3 over 4n, and I am done. Why am I done? The reason I'm done is because now I have my goal. M is completely by itself, and that was what we wanted. Alright, so guided practice is kind of interesting. I would like you guys to do guided practice also on a piece of paper, just to get some practice in for your homework. This is exactly how your homework's going to be. So I'm going to do one of them. Alright, I'm going to do this one right here. I'm going to do 1C. Alright, so I have 28 equals TR plus 4 for T. So I need to get T by itself. So this one's not too bad. What I can do is I need the R plus 4 is in the way, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute it. I don't have to, but I'm going to just do it so you guys can see better. So if I distribute T times R plus 4T, how did I get that? Well, T times R is T times R, and T times 4 is 4T. Alright, now let's get the T by itself. I'm going to subtract 4T. Oh no, wait. I can't subtract 4T, because what? If I subtract 4T, I don't have T by itself. Or I could do that. Let's see. What if I were to erase this? Alright, I want T by itself. So check this out. I can do something else. Alright? If it's T times R plus 4, what if I just divide by R plus 4? When I do that, because it's times, remember the opposite of multiplying by R plus 4 is divide by R plus 4. So this one becomes way easier. So I get 28 over R plus 4 equals T. Ooh, see that? It's kind of one of those ones where it's like, it looks like it's harder, but it's actually easier. And the reason I'm able to do that is because you see the parentheses actually keeps everything together. Now let me do another one. Like this one right here. See how I have A? It's technically A times Q minus A equals 23. Now my goal is to get Q by itself, right? Well, this one's a little different. In the last one, the one that I wanted T was outside. But in this one, Q is on the inside. So now I have to actually do some work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute. Right? Now I do have to because I need to get Q. So I get A times Q minus 8A equals 23. Remember, I want to get Q by itself. So here we go. I'm going to add 8A. So I have A times Q. I'm adding 8A. That cancels, equals 23 plus 8A. Okay. Well, who's still in the way? This A right here. So if it's multiplying, I have to divide by A. And when I do that, I get Q equals 23 divided by A plus 8A divided by A. Something special happened. See, A divided by A is going to cancel. So I'm left with Q equals 23 divided by, not 8, by A. 23 divided by A plus, since these canceled, I'm left with an 8. And now I'm done because I have Q by itself and I know what Q equals. This becomes very important in the future for a thing called substitution. Alright? Try the other two. Try the other guided practice. And then also these right here. Example 1 is 1 through 4 on your homework. Alright, now let's take a look at example number 2. Alright, that's as far as we're going to go, just to example 2. I need you guys to get this down. This one's the same thing for a specific variable, but some different stuff is going to happen. So take a look at this example right here. The one that wants to be by itself this time is x. So who's in the way? The 3's in the way, the negative 2y is in the way, and we have also a z. We have a z over here, and we have a 5. We got a lot of work to do, so here's what we're going to do. We have to get all the x's on one side. We have to decide where do we want the x's to be by itself. Does the x want to be by itself on the right side or the left side? In this case, we're going to put all the x's. All the x's are going to be on the left side. So let's get rid of the y. And opposite of minus 2y is plus 2y. So that's what they're doing. That cancels. So they add 2y on the what? On the other side. Okay? Then what happens is, notice that this x, he needs to join his friend, so they move him to the other side. But how do I do that? How do I move that xz to the other side? Well, the opposite of xz would be, this is a positive xz, so I'm going to subtract xz. And that's where the subtract xz came from. So when they subtract it, that cancels. I'm left with 3x minus xz equals 5 plus 2y. We're almost getting there. We almost have all the x's. Alright? Now here's where it gets really weird. Okay? You see how this x and this x are shared? So they take it out. And he decides to say, since we both have an x, let's play duck, duck, goose. And you see that x? He took the x out right here, parentheses, and what did he leave? The x what? The x went in outside. Who stayed inside to play? Who's the one that's in the circle? The 3 and the z. See that? Because when I multiply 3 times x is 3x, or x times minus c is minus xz. Now I'm good. Now what can I do? I can do what I did over here in these problems. Alright, what I did over here in these problems. See? I divided it. I divided that. Okay? I can do now the same thing. So what I'm going to do is, to get x by itself, I divide by 3 minus z. And now that cancels, and I get x equals 5 plus 2y over 3 minus z. Ooh. Now notice right here it says, so z cannot equal 3. Why? Because if I put it 3 as z, that's 3 minus 3 equals 0, and you can never divide, let me erase that. You can never divide by 0, ever. When you do, it's undefined. So never divide by 0. So you have to figure out what number that I put in here makes it 0. Well, if I put 3, so you put z does not equal 3. Alright? This is a harder concept, guys. It's not super easy, so I do need you guys to really focus. So I'm going to do 2a right here. Alright? We want to get d by itself. Alright? We have to decide what side do I want the d's all on. I'm going to put them all on the right side this time. So I'm going to add 1. Okay. So I end up with, let's see, 1 plus d plus 5c equals 3d, because this one's cancels. Alright, let's move the d now. Minus d, I get 1 plus 5c equals 2d. Alright, and then we're going to divide by 2. I get d equals 1 plus 5c over 2. And I am done. Alright, look at 2b. Make sure you write these down. Alright, this one's, I'm going to put all the q's on the left side. So I'm going to add 18 with 6q, that cancels, equals qr plus t plus 18. Alright, now here's what I need to happen. I'm going to subtract qr. So I want all the q's on this side. So I get 6q minus qr equals, that cancels, t plus 18. Almost done. Now, here's where it's special. You see how this has a q and this has a q. So I'm going to take them out. And they're going to end up playing like duck, duck, goose. So it's q who went inside. The 6 and the r. 6 minus r equals t plus 18. And now, since it's q times all of this, I divide it. So q equals t plus 18 over 6 minus r. Alright guys, this is it's a harder concept. You have to really focus. Alright, we will practice it some more on Monday, but I just wanted to introduce it to you guys. Next week is a midterm, so we have to study and we have a test. Alright, the test for this is going to be really quick because it's only some of the sections. So please make sure that you really focus.